Okay, it's about a minute past, so we'll go ahead and get going. Welcome, everyone, to our next Unison Summit session. Our speaker today is Elena Marusak from Chapman University, and she is an instructional analyst. One thing interesting that I just learned about Elena is that she has taught French before, and I also see in her bio that she has contributed French and Arabic courses through the Open Learning Initiative. I don't know if there's any overlap in your presentation with that today, but I find that super interesting. So with that, I will hand it over to Elena. I am just moderating, so I'm going to go off camera. If you have any questions, if anyone has any technical issues, I'll be behind the scenes sort of ironing that out. But I'm going to go off camera and hand it over to Elena. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kyle, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. We're so grateful for your time. This session is called Canvas Unveiled, Using Impact Tool Adoption Data to Foster Student and Instructor Success. And the goal is for this to be a conversation about how we can leverage data to reach our students and our instructors and help them successfully use educational technology to enhance their learning and teaching. We would be really honored during the session to learn from you about how you're using data at your institution to foster student and instructor success. So thank you again for joining. My name's Elena. I work in the Office of Educational Technology Services at Chapman University. A little bit about Chapman. We're a private R2 university. We're located in Orange County, California. On the left is a picture of our main campus in Orange, and on the right is a picture of our Graduate Health Sciences campus in Irvine. We have approximately 10,000 students, undergraduate and graduate, and approximately 1,200 total instructors. And we're a new Unison member, so we're really grateful and excited to be a part of this consortium and to be part of this virtual summit and have the opportunity to learn from all of you. So since we're going to be discussing impact by instructor during the session today, we wanted to start by just asking what everyone's level of familiarity is with impact. If you're able to share in the chat in live stage, it should be toward the top right of your screen, a lightning bolt that says live stage, and the chat is located within that. How familiar are you with impact? Is this your first time hearing about it? Are you maybe interested in adopting it? Are you actively using it at your institution? We'd love to hear from you about what your level of familiarity is with the tool. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. So Renee, first time hearing, thank you so much. I see some thumbs up. Catherine, you've been using it for a year. Heather, if you've seen the same Canvas webinar, we recently saw a Canvas webinar that was so lovely about different institutions and how they're using impact. Thank you all so much for sharing that in the chat. So for anyone who is new to Impact, it's a data-driven communication and support tool by Instructor. And at Chapman University, we've had it for about 5 years now. We adopted it in 2019, and at that time, it was called EasySoft. And we were embarking on an LMS transition. We were using Blackboard Learn, and we were transitioning to Canvas as our learning management system. These are some of the different ways that we use impact. So first, impact provides data that helps us understand how our campus community is using Canvas and using Canvas integrated tools. And that's the focus of today's session. Another big way we use impact is to do messaging directly in Canvas. So we're able to create messages that all students see, or that all instructors see, or that only specific people see in specific areas of Canvas. And that's helping us share important information and resources with the people who need them the most. Impact tool adoption data is also helping us facilitate changes in Canvas for our community, like the wave of LTI 1.3 upgrades. And impact messages help us gather feedback from our students and our instructors about the support that we provide. These are two examples of how Impact's messaging feature has helped us to be more student-centered and support our students. So the first scenario, if everyone can imagine that they're a student. So imagine that you're a student and maybe you're a first year student and the fall semester is about to start and you sign into Canvas and you don't see one of the classes that you're taking on your dashboard. So you check with your friends and you check with your roommates, and they all seem to have access to all of their Canvas courses, but you don't. And you're starting to stress out about it. So what do? You reach out to the office of the registrar, you reach out to the service desk, you reach out maybe even to Canvas 24/7 support to say that there's a problem. And what is the source of the problem? The source of the problem is that the instructor hasn't published the Canvas course yet. So around the start of the term, we've started doing two impact messages. One of them is for instructors, reminding them that in order for students to have access to their Canvas courses, they need to publish them first. And we share a resource with them about how to publish their Canvas course. And then we do another message for students, reassuring them that if they don't see a course on their dashboard, it's probably just a matter of time until their instructor publishes the course. And so on the right is some of the feedback that we've received from students from this message. So we have a student sharing that clarification was nice, reassured me that something isn't wrong and I'm still enrolled in the class, answered my question, clarified confusion. This was helpful because I thought I was dropped from a couple classes. So it causes them to worry about their enrollment when really it's not there's no problem with their enrollment. It's an unpublished Canvas course issue. So another example scenario is imagine you're a student again and your instructor has asked you to share a file in a discussion. Maybe students are sharing work with one another in a discussion and providing feedback to one another. But when you try to upload your file, it's not working. It's not uploading. And maybe you're getting a vague error message. You don't really know why it's not working. Or maybe you're getting an error message that says you've exceeded your Canvas file storage, but you don't know how to fix the problem. And you're stressed because you need to submit your assignment. So we've recently started using the Canvas API to find students who are affected by this, who've used over 80% of their Canvas file storage space. And then we do a message that only those students see that has instructions for managing their Canvas file storage so that they don't experience this kind of issue when they're trying to submit work. And those are just two examples of how impact messages have been helpful just by themselves, but we're also striving to be more data-driven in our communication and support, and so we've been finding value in the impact tool adoption data for tackling some of these kinds of challenges. So what is the impact tool adoption report for anyone who may be new to impact? Essentially, the way it works is there are monitors that are triggered by people going to different places in Canvas and doing different things in Canvas, and also using tools that are integrated with Canvas. The monitors are grouped into categories and reporting templates. So the example that we're looking at here is the mobile app reporting template. And this contains usage data for the Canvas student and Canvas teacher apps. You can filter by role. So let's say we're interested in how students are using the Canvas student app. You can also filter by user group, and those are mostly our Canvas sub-accounts. And of course, you can specify a date range. So the monitor category that we're looking at data for here is grades in the Canvas student app. So this represents students checking their grades in the iOS and Android Canvas student apps. So it looks like last week around 4,500 Chapman students were checking their grades in the Canvas student app. So that's just a brief overview of what impact tool adoption data looks like. But we wanted to share some examples of how we're using this data to overcome challenges and foster student and instructor success. So challenge number one is students are tech savvy, right? So it's this belief that we have that our students are tech savvy, which is 100% true. But sometimes that belief might lead us to expect them to just know how to use the learning management system or just figure out how a tool works. And they're humans just like us who sometimes need communication and instructions and opportunities to practice. And so the example that we chose for this year at Chapman, we've seen an increase in usage of Respondus Lockdown Browser. If anyone's not familiar, it's a test proctoring tool that prevents students from freely navigating the web while they're taking a Canvas quiz. And my personal theory is that this increase in usage, it could be a response to AI. But with this increase in usage, there's also been an increase in service desk tickets from students and instructors about Respondus Lockdown Browser related issues. So we were receiving service desk tickets, just as an example, from instructors who were in the classroom right then and there. They were giving an exam and they didn't know what to do when students weren't able to get Respondus Lockdown Browser to work to take the exam on their personal devices. So we wanted to do something to help our students and our instructors since this was really causing them stress. So our team was already doing a workshop series called Strategies for Student Success. And we already had a workshop planned about Respondus Lockdown Browser from the student perspective. So we were asking ourselves, what if we could figure out which instructors were using Respondus Lockdown Browser and then invite them to this workshop that we already had planned so that they could learn about the common challenges that students encounter with this tool and how they can set students up for success by creating a practice quiz in their Canvas course in advance of the day of the exam, so that students could test out Respondus Lockdown Browser on their personal devices before they were using it for the exam. And so what we did was we used impact tool adoption data to export a list of active users of Respondus Lockdown Browser. And then we reached out to these instructors, personally inviting them to the workshop. And this is feedback that we received from an instructor who felt empowered to support his students after attending the workshop. So he shares, I'm so grateful I attended because learning the calendar and dashboard loading error has been so helpful. And what he's referring to there is students, sometimes they try to navigate to the quiz directly from the dashboard or from the calendar when they need to go inside the course and navigate to the quiz from inside the course. When they try to navigate from the dashboard, for example, they get an error. And so he said, I've had so many students saying it can't load. And I used to think the problem was my end. So I would give them extra time after class without knowing the problem. And now I bring that up and voila, it works every time. So he feels empowered now that if that comes up on the day of the exam, he knows how to support students and get past that. That's just an example. A second challenge number 2, where we've been leveraging impact tool adoption data, is we have this tool. I had no idea. So we invest in tools to help our students succeed, but what if they don't know about the tools? So at Chapman, we're fortunate to have access to so many valuable tools and resources. We're in Adobe Creative Campus. We have Grammarly Premium. etc. And we're always trying to make sure that our students are aware of these tools and resources and getting the most out of them. So the example that we chose for this challenge is Ally, which, if you're not familiar, it's a tool that's integrated with Canvas that helps instructors make their course materials more accessible. And it allows students and instructors to download accessible alternative formats of files, like an audio MP3 version for listening. We know from interacting with our students and from impact tool adoption data that many of our students don't know about Ally at all. And so it's a challenge that we have and that we also have with other tools, not just with Ally. So I just wanted to pause here for a moment and invite everyone, if you would like to share in the live chat, or even if you would like to join the stage, would be honored to learn from you if you have a similar challenge at your institution of students or even instructors not knowing about tools that you have access to, and what strategies you use to help with that. I'll give everyone a moment if you want to find the chat. Oh, I see some questions here too.
Yeah, Elena, do you want to do questions now, since we have a couple, or do you want to wait till the end?
It's a good question. I'm just going back through the questions. Apologies for not seeing those until now. We do have, in terms of the accuracy of the data, we are going to share at the end that we have experienced, it is a limitation sometimes, the accuracy of the data. Since mobile data is included in Canvas data too, it always has me skeptical. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I know it's a new feature too of Impact, the mobile app reporting template too. Do you use this data to give feedback to your vendors on common support issues? Yes. Yes, I believe we have. I'm trying to think of a good example, but I believe we have. Thank you all so much for your questions. And if anyone wanted to share, if you have a similar challenge of students not knowing about tools that you're investing in, or instructors not knowing about tools that you're investing in, please feel free to share. But in the meantime, I can share what we did about this challenge or what we're doing so far. So, for example, we created an impact message for all of our students that they saw on the Canvas dashboard. And the message had an embedded short video just showing Ally alternative formats in action. And what's cool is if you do a communication, whether it's using Impact or using some other method, you can go back to the data and then see if there's any increase in usage after your outreach. So this is just a quote from a Chapman student about how she was trying to do readings on her tablet, and then how she discovered Ally and how it enhanced her learning. And we have some people sharing. So Karen, thank you so much for sharing how you introduce faculty to the reading list tool in Canvas. We'd love to learn more about that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So challenge number 3 is, how do I do that in Canvas? So we have a meme here of Patrick telling SpongeBob, I thought I was tech savvy until I tried to teach online. So I'm sure we can all empathize with this. Using a learning management system, it's not always easy and it's not always intuitive. Sometimes our instructors don't know how to do something in Canvas and they need training. And when we invest in their success, that has a direct impact on student success. So the example we chose for this is our students with testing accommodations not getting the extra time that they need for exams delivered via Canvas. And the reason is instructors maybe not understanding how to moderate a Canvas quiz, how to give the extra minutes in Canvas, or how different Canvas quiz settings interact with one another. So we were receiving a lot of service desk tickets from students and instructors about this problem. Instructors who were upset because students who needed extra time, they got cut off unintentionally, and it was just due to a lack of understanding of Canvas quiz settings. And our Office of Disability Services was also receiving reports about this. So what we did, how we leveraged the impact tool adoption data, we created a campaign for instructors using Canvas quizzes. So when you're in the impact tool adoption report, you can start a campaign directly from the data. But we could also have chosen to do a message just for all instructors. But we did a campaign for instructors using Canvas quizzes with a message about how to accommodate students who need extended time. And in the message, we shared a blog post with a short video that we created about how to use the Moderate Quiz feature in Canvas to give students extra minutes for a quiz, and also explaining the different settings and what to be aware of. So this is an email, this quote here is an email that I received from an instructor while we were running this campaign. She said, "Thanks for posting this video. Now I understand why adding extra time through the Moderate This Quiz feature sometimes didn't work. It was because the until date and time didn't allow for the extra time." So she's referring directly to the setting that was causing the problem. And she said, mystery solved. So now that instructor understands why the issue was occurring, and they're able to ensure that students with testing accommodations get the extra time that they need for Canvas quizzes. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing more with us about the reading lists. Really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much. This brings us to challenge number 4. Change is the only constant. So we have Buzz and Woody saying we need to change everything. Um, so what do you do when so many tools that your campus community uses are being upgraded to LTI 1.3, and it feels like this is all happening all at once and sometimes with pretty short notice? And how do you know who's using which tools to be able to communicate with them about the changes that are coming and offer support to them so that your instructors and students are not blindsided and running into issues? So the example that we chose for this is Google Apps LTI. Not sure if all of you have that particular integration in Canvas, but we've had it for years since we adopted Canvas, and we found out that it's no longer going to be supported starting this summer, and we need to switch to Google Assignments LTI 1.3. So the way we're leveraging the impact tool adoption data is we requested help from Impact with adding monitors. So earlier we were looking at that monitor that was grades, navigating to grades in the Canvas student app. So we requested monitors for the different points of contact that people have with these two LTIs in Canvas. And now we're able to see um, provided that we have accurate data, we're able to see how our campus community is using these integrations and see who's still using the legacy integrations so that we can do more targeted, personalized communication and help them transition to LTI 1.3. So something we learned from the data is we learned that the people who use the integration the most are students who submit Google Drive files to Canvas assignments. So the image on the right is an Instagram post that we did in partnership with our communications and training team, just raising awareness among students that Google's now 1.3 in Canvas, so they can see now the 1.3 when they're submitting assignments in Canvas. And it also gives them access to some more features, like they have the ability to collaborate on more things like sites and forms and drawings, in addition to the docs and sheets and slides. I just wanted to pause here again since it seems like this is a common challenge that a lot of us are facing right now. I just wanted to pause and invite everyone to share in the chat in live stage, or if you want to raise your hand or request to join the stage, please feel free. Would love to learn what strategies you're using to help with this move to LTI 1.3 and how you're managing that at your institution. Rio, thank you so much for sharing. Doing small LTI 1.3 upgrades for the big ones. You're using Impact. That's awesome. We're also using Impact for the discussions redesign. So for anyone who's not familiar, there's a discussions redesign coming this summer too. And we're using Impact too. So we decided to put a hint message. So for anyone who's not familiar, the hint message is when someone hovers over something maybe in Canvas. So we put a message when you hover over the discussions link in the course navigation menu. The message then pops up and it's just letting instructors know that the discussions redesign is coming. It links to a blog post where my colleague did an overview of the new features that are coming and a video that they can watch. Thank you so much for sharing that. Sounds like we're doing similar things with Impact. If anyone else wants to share, please feel free if you want to join the stage or share in the chat how you're managing this transition to LTI 1.3. We would love to learn from you. So please feel free if an idea or something you want to share comes to you, please feel free. In the meantime, we can share some of the limitations that we've encountered and also next steps. So limitations, and there were questions that touched on this. We have questioned also, I think we all sometimes question the accuracy of data. So we have run into that where accurate data is not always available, particularly for certain integrated tools. So the example of Respond as Lockdown Browser, that's something that instructors they have to enable it in their Canvas course navigation menu. And then whenever they want to require Respond as Lockdown Browser for a Canvas quiz, they have to click on that link in the navigation menu. So for that example, we felt that the data was relatively accurate in capturing instructors who were using Respond as Lockdown Browser. But as we know, not all tools are alike. They're very different. The integrations are very different. And so sometimes we found that accurate, meaningful data is not available for certain integrated tools. We've also run into issues with filtering by user role. So we saw earlier when we were looking at the mobile app reporting template, you can filter by role, student, instructor, etc. And we've had issues with instructors being included in student data. And the reason is that we have training courses in Canvas where instructors are enrolled with a student role. And so Impact sometimes sees them as students and mixes them in with the student data. So that's been a limitation that we've encountered. In terms of next steps, we had shared in the beginning we're a new Unison member, and we're really grateful and really excited to be a part of this consortium and to learn from all of you and from Kyle and everyone at Unison. We really want to learn how we can leverage the UDP in similar ways. So we shared a little bit how we've been leveraging impact tool adoption data to help with challenges that we're facing, but we're really, really interested in how to leverage the UDP to foster student and instructor success. And so if you have tips to share with us, fellow Unison members who are here, if you have tips for a new member on getting started with the UDP, or Kyle, if you have tips, we would be really honored to learn from you about how to get started with that.
I do have some thoughts, but I'll let the audience chime in before I do.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. So
Yeah.
feel free if you want to find the live stage chat, or if you want to request to join the stage, we would love to hear from you.
Yes, one of us can add you if you'd like to join the stage. I think Chris Lehman from Wisconsin has a tip, UDP tip, to get started. Find a course you are familiar with so you can explore a more reasonable amount of data. It's a great tip.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts, Kyle? What people are thinking?
Yeah. So I have
How institutions are leveraging Unison data.
I have to admit, some of this is I won't say like a canned response, but this is a link that I normally distribute to folks as sort of the entry point into Unison documentation. And there's a lot to go through, and I'm not going to obviously walk through all of it, but this is sort of a good entry point to the UDP from both a technical lens and sort of a data integration lens. And so where I think a lot of users start to get familiar with UDP is from some sort of prior expertise in a source system. It's like you might be really familiar with SIS data, or you might be really familiar with LMS data, or some sort of component of Canvas that is a teaching and learning tool. So I think sort of similar to Chris's suggestion, start with sort of your area of expertise and see how that area of expertise is translated into Unison's language in the UDP. So sort of following that data integration from source into the final presentation in the UDP can sort of be a helpful journey to get started. I would also say a shameless plug for sort of what Sarah and I do at Unison, the data services and solutions team. We set aside dedicated time to work with institutions on specific projects and translating those projects through the UDP lens. So we have a support ticket queue where you can ask specific questions, or we can set up time to chat. And so that's part of the value of your membership in the consortium, is having me and Sarah to kind of help translate some of your sort of domain data through the UDP lens. And that's another good way to get real hands-on experience that way, is just by doing something real. Chris's link is good to our Slack space. We do have a community Slack space that you can join, and I can send out an invite link if you want to get connected later. It is fairly quiet, but it is for the community to collaborate on sort of projects in an ad hoc way. We also have teaching and learning groups that have variety of focus areas and interests, where most of these groups meet monthly. Some have different cadences, but you can get on those meeting invites and kind of join like-minded folks that are trying to do UDP-centric things through different lenses. So there's an application development group, there's a learning analytics community of practice, and there's about 8 other ones that I'm blanking on. I think there's a libraries group, there's a security group, and more that you can join as well to sort of talk with like-minded consortium folks around these sorts of things to kind of get started. Those are sort of the things that are coming to mind right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kyle. And thanks so much, Chris, for sharing the Slack link. Thank you so much. So please feel free if anything comes to you, if anyone's doing something super cool with the UDP for student and instructor success, please don't hesitate to share. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all that you've shared, and would be so honored to connect with you. Again, my name is Elena. I work in the Office of Educational Technology Services at Chapman. I'm Marusak at chapman.edu. And I think we still have a few minutes too. So I know we were inviting you to share and engage, but if you have questions about anything that we've talked about, please don't hesitate to share them in the chat or join the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elena. Let's give Elena a virtual Kaltura round of applause.
Thank you so much.
If we can. Thank you so much for sharing and preparing this presentation. We do have about 7-ish minutes left, so if anyone does have questions, feel free to put them in chat, or you can join the stage. Yeah. We'll give maybe 1 more minute for questions to come in.
Thank you again, Kyle, too, for your advice on getting started with the UDP and for moderating.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great topic, and I think that might be a really interesting. One of the takeaways I had from I hadn't really thought about sort of a getting started sort of track, I guess, in some ways, because every school is sort of different. But that could be a really interesting Unison community sort of project. Is like, what is a good getting started with UDP curriculum, boot camp? Not sure, but I have that written down, so I'm gonna talk to the team about that. We might pick your ear again for feedback on that coming up soon.
Well, if you develop anything, we'd love to be a part of it. I think I can.
We love guinea pigs to try things.
Yeah.
I don't see any other questions, so I think we can maybe stop the recording. Thank you again, Elena. This was really, really great. Thanks for participating and contributing to the summit. And thanks, everyone. There's one more, I think, round of sessions before we wrap up the summit this year. So thanks for everyone engaging and attending.
Thank you so much.